It's that time again. It's time for another game of Shelve It or Shove It. That completely superficial way to pick books for your TBR based solely on their cover. I'm the booktube goddess, the #1 drag queen booktuber on YouTube. Every month I play Shelve It or Shove It to add at least one book to my TBR, again based solely on their cover. I look at young adult, science fiction, and fantasy on Goodreads new releases for the month of May in this case, and I'll be looking at the new releases in April to put on for May. So anyway, let's get on with it. Starting with young adult, our first book is Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. And now those of you who follow me know that I'm not a big fan of book covers where the main feature is just the title name. But once in a while, I do find one that I like, and I kind of like this one, and I'll tell you why. It's because the Hotel Magnifique is in this interesting font, and it doesn't take up the entire cover. Instead, we have a Addams Family turret at the top, and it looks like a key at the bottom. So I'm getting haunted house vibes from it, and there's these peacock feathers in this pink and blue. I actually like this cover. You may be surprised, but I do like this cover. So I'm going to shelve it. Next up is She Gets the Girl by Rachel Lippincott and Allison Derrick. And I believe this may be a lesbian romance, so I like that. And I actually do like the cover, but I don't like romances. I don't like reading romances. And the cover's cute, but because it's a romance, I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is An Arrow to the Moon by Emily X.R. Pan. And this is an interesting cover. Of course, we have the arrow, and it looks like there are stars. It almost looks like hair, wavy hair, but I think there's like shooting stars going around it. And it's heading towards the moon, obviously. And I'm not sure what this is about. I guess this is a young adult fantasy. I wish I knew more, but just based on the cover, I do like it. So I am going to have to shelve it. Next up is This May End Badly by Samantha Markham. All's Fair in Love and Prank Wars. And obviously a romance. The cover's not as interesting as that other one, that lesbian book cover that we just saw. But again, romance, not into it. And I don't think this cover's that great. So I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is Some Mistakes Were Made by Kristen Dwyer. First Love Cuts the Deepest. Pretty cover, like the colors, kind of like the illustration, but not into this type of book, as you know. So I am going to shove it. That's it for young adult. Now we move on to science fiction. First up is Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. And I believe I heard about this book when I did my review of upcoming 2022 new releases to look out for. And I wasn't interested in it then. I'm not interested in it now. It's from the author of Station 11, which I did not read. I tried to watch the HBO series, could not get into it. This cover is dead boring. Sea of Tranquility, that's a feature on the moon. But we don't see that unless this is sort of a terraforming the moon novel. We just get this generic landscape. So no, I'm going to have to shove it. Next we have End of the World House by Adrian Kelt. And there is a picture of the Mona Lisa that's Looks like it's cut out and it's like a psychedelic thing around it. It's a cool art piece, but boy, it does not tell me much about the novel. End of the World House. Just going by the title, maybe it's an end of days apocalypse novel. Although I appreciate the artwork, it is not a book I would pick based on the cover, so I'm going to shove it. Next up is The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport, book 1 of the Blood Gift duology. So we know it's a series. Boy, this cover does not look adult, does it? This looks young adult or even middle grade. But it's a pretty illustration. I mean, I like the artwork. It's giving me a little bit of a generic science fiction feel. I don't see anything really unique about it. A young woman with a dagger, and it looks like Wolverine claws. I don't see any high-tech guns, which is weird. Anyway, not feeling it. I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is Atomic Anna by Rachel Barenbaum. And boy, this is reminding me of that End of the World novel with the Mona Lisa. Cutouts, there's like features of a nose, a mouth, an eye in triangles. Again, I appreciate the artwork or the artistry that went into designing this cover, but I don't know what it's about. I guess from the font, it's giving me a retro sort of maybe 50s, 60s vibe and atomic power. Maybe it's an alternate history of the 60s. I don't know. Not giving me enough, so I am going to shove it. Next up is The Memory Librarian and Other Stories of Dirty Computers by Janelle Monáe. And yet, this is another one I saw for the new releases to look out for. And Janelle Monáe is, of course, the singer and the actress. And now this person is writing science fiction. I am curious, but not that curious. I think it's interesting, just going by the cover, I think it's interesting that Janelle Monáe is the model on the cover. How many other books feature the author, him or her or their self, on the cover? And it's not just posing on the cover, it's actually incorporated. There's like numbers going down the face, and it's an interesting cover, but I'm not really compelled to pick up a short story collection. I am curious what Janelle Monáe's writing's like. If you know, let me know in the comments. But otherwise, for this novel, or for this collection of stories, I'm going to have to shove it. Okay, I did not pick any science fiction. Let's hope we do better with fantasy, because we're moving on to fantasy, and the first book up is Kai by Vaishnavi Patel. And there is a silhouette of a woman, I think, and then really you just are seeing the jewelry, the headdress, the headpiece, earrings. The cover is attractive. I think this is an attractive cover, but I don't know what the story's about. Yeah, it's not doing it for me. I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. And this is an interesting cover because I don't really see this in fantasy, but it looks like a photorealistic person, looks like of Asian descent, wearing these leaves with bones in it, and it fits the title, Nettle and Bone. This isn't the type of fantasy cover you would normally see, which makes me wonder if this is an atypical fantasy story, maybe some sort of modern day survival after, post-apocalyptic survival story. I don't know. Very curious. I don't think it's that attractive of a cover though. I would have much rather have seen an illustrated person rather than this photorealistic thing. I do appreciate the font. Gives a contrast to that photorealism. But I'll be honest with you, I would never have picked this book up on a bookshelf because doesn't appeal to me. So I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is Fevered, starred by Rebecca Roanhorse. Now, this is, I'm pretty sure, a sequel to their novel last year, which was Black Star. And that had gotten such good reviews that I wanted to read it, but I didn't want to start with book 1 when book 2 wasn't out yet. So I believe this is book 2. So if I pick this one, I of course will go and read book 1 first and then book 2. But let's just look at the cover. Now, to me, it's looking more science fiction than fantasy because I'm sort of getting, it looks like there's sort of an AI head maybe sort of bursting apart with pixels or something. Maybe I'm looking at this totally wrong. I don't know. And it's an okay cover. I do want to read this series at some point. I wonder if this is going to be a trilogy. Maybe I'll just wait another year for the next book to come out. But I am kind of confused that this is in the fantasy section because I thought this may have been science fiction, or maybe this cover is just telling me it's science fiction, but it's actually not. You know what? I think I'm going to take a pass. I'm going to go ahead and shove Fevered Star. But that's not to say that I'm not going to eventually read this. Maybe I'll pick it up on book 3. Maybe if there's a lull in my reading, I'll start this series. But this cover isn't doing it for me. Next up is Spear by Nicola Griffith. The artwork is fine. It's fine. But as fantasy goes, you can't get more generic than this. With the title called Spear, you have a knight, it's cauldron. Could be anything. Not feeling it. I'm going to have to shut it. Okay, the last book in fantasy, indeed, last book in this session is going to be In a Garden Burning Gold by Rory Power, author of Wilder Girls. I have not read Wilder Girls, but I've heard of it. And this cover, well, it's very pretty. I like the mosaic. I like that contrast with the deep blue and the other shades of blues and turquoise against the gold. There's a hummingbird. I just don't know what this story's about. I wish I knew more. I mean, I keep thinking Aztec. I'm trying to think of what other cultures may have those types of mandalas and designs. Maybe India, maybe the Mideast, Asia. I don't know. I have too many questions. I'm going to have to shove it. Has this ever happened before? I've only picked 2 books, and they're both young adult. Okay, so the 2 young adult books we picked for the entire month, because we didn't pick any science fiction or fantasy, is Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor and An Arrow to the Moon by Emily X.R. Pan. And I don't think I want to do 2 young adults this month, so I'm only going to do one of these 2 books. And looking at the covers, it's going to be Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. I'm hoping for a gothic ghost story type of story, but let's go ahead and look at the blurb, see what I've gotten myself into. It's being compared to Caravel and Night Circus, a decadent and darkly enchanting YA fantasy. All her life, Janie has dreamed of elsewhere. Just barely scraping by with her job at a tannery, she's resigned to a dreary life in the port town of Dirk, caring for her younger sister Zosa. That is, until the Hotel Magnifique comes to town. The hotel is legendary not only for its whimsical enchantments, but also for its ability to travel, appearing in a different destination every morning, while Janie and Zosa can't afford the exorbitant prices of a guest stay, they can interview to join the staff and are soon whisked away on the greatest adventure of their lives. But once inside, Janie quickly discovers their contracts are unbreakable and that beneath the marvelous glamour, the hotel is hiding dangerous secrets. With the vexingly handsome doorman Belle as her only ally, Janie embarks on a mission to unravel the mystery of the magic at the heart of the hotel and free Zosa and the other staff from the cruelty of the ruthless maitre d'hotel. To succeed, she'll have to risk everything she loves, but failure would mean a fate far worse than never returning home. Magic hotel, attractive doormans, mysteries. I am quite interested in reading this one. Whimsical enchantments, you got me there. I am kind of unsure of sort of the setting of this, but I'm sure we'll get into it once we get into it. So I'll let you know what I think. But I'm also interested in what you think. What books would you have picked based solely on their covers? And do you think I was a little too critical this month? Why did I only pick 2 covers? Let me know down in the comments. Until we meet again, may all the books you read be blessed.